I'm ringing Tracy's bell. Good evening, everyone. Glad to see you all here. We will kick this meeting into gear here. Jason, could you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Trustee Mahan,
Here.
Trustee Brown,
Here.
Trustee Tivaldi,
Here.
Trustee Lamach,
Here.
Trustee Padilla,
Here.
Mayor Kreitz,
She's absent.
Mayor Pro Tem March.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem, you have enough quorum.
Great. Thank you. Could you everyone please stand, remove your hats, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Hey, they moved the flag. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Do we have any changes or anything on the agenda?
No changes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Great, thank you. Okay. Do we have to do a vote to approve the agenda? I don't think we do. I don't think so. Okay. We have any special presentations?
No special presentations, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay. All right. We do have some people here for public comment. This portion of the agenda is provided to allow members of the audience to provide comments to the town board. Please sign in and the mayor will call you. I'm the mayor today, so. If your comments or concerns require an action, the item or items will need to be placed on a later agenda. Please limit the time of your comments to 3 minutes. The first person I have here is Abigail Herbert. Is that, did I pronounce it right?
It's Hebert.
Hebert?
Yes,
Okay.
that's all right. My name is Abigail Hebert. I am on the Carbon Valley Parks and Recreation District Board for Frederick. So I was coming to say hi. Here I am, and just let you guys know that Tina is also here, but we can work together. And this is the face that you should see, and Tina's face that you should see if you want to discuss district matters. It's nice to meet you all.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. Good to see you. I assume Tina Martin, are you here too?
Yes.
Come on up here. Say hello.
I was going to ask if we could just come up together.
Well, you could have.
So, Tina, nice to see you all once again. So Abby and I, we are your Frederick seats on the board, and we have a resolution to try and make it to a few more of your meetings. So hopefully now and then you'll see us here and there. We also hope that you have received an invitation to our February 7 meeting, in which we're calling the Carbon Valley Collaboration. So here's just yet another invitation. We would love to see any and all of you if you can make it. That's February 7th, 6:30 at the new community center that we have, which would be fun to see too if you haven't. So yeah, hope to see you guys. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you bet. Look forward to it. Thank you. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Abigail. Great to see you. Come as often as you wish. Let us know what's going on. And I would like to hear how everything's going with the parks and recreation, all of it. So it's an important part. So thank you and welcome. All right. Is there anyone else here? Public comment? If not, we'll move right into staff reports, and we'll start out with Brian. You're up.
Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a couple of items, board. We have a golf presentation that I know Tim unfortunately isn't able to make it tonight, but I believe Colby's going to fill in for that. And then the second thing is if there's any questions in regards to the trash IM or memo that we sent out earlier, I think yesterday, the holiday trash program was a very high success. The team did a great job in pulling that together. But one item to note is with our meeting last Tuesday, we're going to reschedule that for February 20th. So that is the meeting where we're going to dedicate, it's on the calendar that I sent out as the mini retreat. We're going to spend and dedicate probably a couple of hours specific to development the comp plan. So definitely come with thoughts in regards to what you want to see with development, residential development, development in general, and we'll really get your feedback in regards to that. The second topic, if we have time, we'll be talking about the general fund unrestricted fund balance. So that we're going to lock that day down so we can keep that project moving appropriately. So with that, I'll have Colby come up and give a quick update in regards to the golf course.
Mayor Pro Tem, trustees. I apologize when I scheduled Tim for this meeting about a month ago. I didn't realize he was going to be gone for a conference this week, so you get this brief update from me. He put together this IM to kind of give you a very brief update of the finances at the golf course post transition of the food and beverage operation. We'll have a more robust update on some of the long-term planning and the financials later this year, but we wanted to get this as soon as we had these year-end numbers. Basically, in short, the golf operation side had another successful year. Rounds were up from 2018 to 23. Our rounds have increased by 183%, so we've by far more than doubled. To talk specific about kind of overall revenue, we wanted to know when you look at these numbers, obviously the overall revenue is down. That's related to that revenue that we've lost from the larger food and beverage operation. But what we don't have yet are the end of year expenses, which went down considerably more than that lost revenue. So just a little bit of nuance there if you're looking at some of those gross numbers. Once the food and beverage transition occurred, we actually had a net profit the last few months of the year of about $1,000. The only reason that wasn't any higher is by the time we made that transition, we'd already scheduled most of our special events for the year that had food tied to them. So we had catering expenses. Long story short, moving from 2022 to 2024, we'll have about a $290,000 swing from our loss that we had in the food and beverage to the $20,000 profit that we expect to have throughout 2024. So,
Yes. The win. Yes.
a lot of information, a lot of good data from Tim. He's doing an excellent job out there collecting a lot of this stuff. We'll have some fee increase proposals and some fee changes coming in that larger update later this year that'll help continue to tick down that subsidy. Overall, in the last 2 years, the subsidy's gone down. It's not one of those things when you have this operation that we can take one massive swing and we're going to solve the problem. It's going to be year after year, making sure that continues to trend down, and we're heading that direction already. So, all good things.
Sure. Well, it's going to take a while
It does.
to be able to get things back in gear. And I think we're all confident that you'll figure a way to get us to where we need to go. You and Tim.
And with your guys' support, we have some capital projects on the line out there this year that'll help improve that playability. Give us that opportunity to charge our users a little bit more to continue to lower that subsidy.
Since we're talking about the golf course, I cannot remember, and I apologize. What's the status, Brian, on trying to get a new maintenance building over there?
Great question. I believe I don't know if it's part of the CIP for this year, but definitely we're demoing the current one. I think that's in the plans at some point this year
We didn't include it in our CIP request this year. We were hoping to have a little bit larger conversation because of the price tag that could be associated with that.
Sure.
We went out in 2023 and got a preliminary design. It's not a full design, it's about a 10% and a probable estimate of cost. And we're looking at anywhere between 1.3 and 1.5 million for demo and replacement. So that's one of the conversations we wanted to have this year with how could we potentially fund that. We have identified that its current location is the best spot for the future. That was one of the unknowns kind of going through the community parks master plan with a lot of the floodplain and other stormwater issues. And especially with the neighboring residents, we just felt that current location is the best spot. So that's where we have that preliminary design.
Okay.
And we're pretty confident in those numbers being, if nothing else, a little on the high end. We think we'll actually be able to construct for slightly less, but we wanted to make sure we had a pretty accurate representation of what that might be.
Yeah. Well, I know it's a need that's. See, it seems like we're not moving very fast on this, and I've expressed my concerns with the safety of that whole situation, and so I just thought I would ask if,
Sure.
as I hadn't seen anything. So, okay. All right. Well, thank you, Colby. Anybody have any questions or comments for Colby? Nothing?
Yeah, I saw all the your folks out at Millivick Lake before sunrise or right at sunrise, just doing their jobs, and um, I really just appreciate them. I see them in the morning all the time, and not they're I know they're just doing their jobs, but it just makes for a really great place to recreate outside, and so thanks to them.
We try to do our tree cutting down before the sun comes up.
I noticed that. That's wise.
In case you get any questions on that, since that entire inside ring of the dam is a structural dam, we have to remove that vegetation. So
Understood.
Sarah told us we had to.
Well, you better do it.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Colby.
And then certainly on the second item, Mayor Pro Tem and Board, if you have any questions in regards to the holiday trash, Kent from Public Works is here too to address anything.
I thought it was a great program. I was impressed by the report. I was surprised, and I think some of the comments that were made about the first week and the lack of, not the lack, but the minimal participation that first week is a good suggestion. I think going through the excuse me, the whole process, giving it a couple of years worth of effort and see what happens goes. And I had originally had an idea about getting some individuals involved with the service, or maybe volunteers or something like that, that we could do some volunteers that might help out operate that for a day or two or a week, so that in case we got hit with snowfall or weather or whatever, those events that come up.
Yeah, we were fortunate weather-wise that we didn't have a lot going on during that time frame, but we did have some sickness going on at work, and just some people out, and so it put a little bit of a strain, just always having to be there at the front, and just as you sat down at the computer, somebody ring the doorbell that had drop off, but overall it was it, like I say in here, it needs a few tweaks, things that we learn as we go. But I mean, honestly, we rolled that out in less than a month.
Yeah.
So just having more communication out there with the public, I think, but we had some great responses, and
You
how
said you did
appreciated.
4 roll-offs?
We ended up with 4, although we didn't need all 4. We probably needed 3, but at the time, our first 2 filled so quick, I just filled the other 2, or I just ordered the other 2. We actually still have them out at the shop. 3 would have been sufficient, but I think moving forward, just more advertisement of the program and things like that are going to probably generate, we'll probably need to start with at least 4. And Waste Connections worked with us in an amazing way. I mean, they give a 2-day notice, or require a 2-day notice. And I called them in the afternoon. We had one the next morning, had them exchange. So they worked with us really well too.
Good. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark.
I think the resident appreciated the fact that you could do that. Now, last 2 questions: electronics and the furniture that you mentioned. Was that accepted, or was it?
It was the furniture got by us. We had some of the issues, and I think some of the reasons I'm saying, better signage and things like that. We had people going to the north gate, and so if that gate happened to be open with one of our guys going out, people would just drive in, because we would usually at least eyeball, what people had, because we had them come to the door, show their ID and things like that. And we didn't see anything like that. We did ask, actually, the gentleman that had an electronic, had a TV, and obviously he got a new TV for Christmas, so he had the box, and we told him we couldn't accept his old TV, and then we let him in, and we actually kind of monitored him a little bit, and he dumped his other stuff and then dropped that old TV in the new box and started to dump it. And we caught him and said, no, we can't throw electronics in this. So, yeah, it's, you don't want to be so aggressive that you look at everything they have, but we just, hope and trust that people are being honest with it.
And that was the only electronic that we had.
That's the only one that we noted at all. And that was one question that we did ask people, do you have any electronics? I mean, we didn't think about asking if you have furniture because we didn't think that was a thing. But yeah, we had some requests for people that were doing remodeling that wanted to come dump stuff. But again, that might just be education on our end, and working with communication team.
I agree. As you said, it was put together in 3 to 4 weeks, and I think it went well.
Yeah, it did.
And I kind of liked your idea about looking at staffing this when we have this with some seasonals, or maybe seeing if we can't bring in some high schoolers and then use this for some sort of work credit or.
Well, and Colby's idea, and I hadn't thought of it, but bringing in some of the golf course staff that really are kind of low on hours at this time of the year, and having, creating some hours for them that are already workers here, employed here, and supporting them maybe first is.
That's even a better idea. That, yeah.
It's a great.
Well, I actually had.
But I didn't.
I'm sorry. I had some of my neighbors and some other people tell me they thought it was a great idea. They didn't understand some of the issues of what you could and couldn't bring, but I explained to them, and I just think it's a great idea. It's another thing that Frederick is offering that's kind of special.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either one of the neighborhoods, either other town is offering it. So.
Yeah.
Well done. I think it'll just improve.
Yeah.
We'll just tune it, you will, and it'll get better.
To do is just give us a little more time. We'll lay it out right, and it'll be a success. It already was, but.
All right. Well, thank you. Does anybody else have anything for Ken?
Thank you.
Okay. We shall move right along here. We have anything else for staff? Nothing?
Good.
Okay. We will move on to our consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and vote. There will be no separate discussion of consent agenda items unless a board member so requests, in which case the item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered at the end of the consent agenda. Does anybody have any issues with the consent agenda as is? Nothing? Then I need some direction, please.
Mayor Pro Tem, I recommend that we accept the consent agenda as is.
Second.
Trustee Mayhem?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Tavelli?
Yes.
Trustee Lamont?
Yes.
Trustee Padilla?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Oh, great. All right. We will now move into our action agenda. Our first one is consideration of the reappointment of our Parks and Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Commissioners. You're up again, Colby.
I'm back.
There you go.
Get the clicker. Oh, never mind. It's over here.
There it is.
Is this the clicker you're looking for? Ta-da.
This is not the clicker.
I gotta click through all like 3 slides that I have. Mayor Pro Tem, trustees, this is really just a cleanup action. What this is related to is the terms for 4 of our pros commissioners. Last year, this board approved some new recruitment procedures and municipal code related to commissions and committees. 2 of those that are in of concern here are the recruitment period that should occur in May and October annually. And then we also want to stagger terms of our commissions so that we don't have a majority of membership being renewed at one time. We have 4 commissioners whose terms end at the end of this month. So what staff has proposed is a partial reappointment of these commissioners. We would have Commissioner Kristen Davis and Aaron Fostick through May of 2024, and Commissioners Alan Gill and Sue Pylon through May of 2025. At the end of those partial appointments, they would be subject to that full recruitment and reappointment process. And this gets all 7 members staggered with the 3 that were appointed in 2023 up in 2026. We don't have a resolution for this. Typically, commission appointments are just done by a simple staff recommendation, motion, and approval.
So your recommendation is?
That we approve the staff recommendation to appoint Davis and Fostick through May of 24 and Gill and Pylon through May of 2025. I would note that the board does have wide latitude here, generally speaking, if there's alternatives you want to look into, but we felt this was the simplest and easiest to make sure that all 4 of those commissioners were in line with those processes and the code.
And Colby, does this fill out the all the positions on the pros committee?
All 7 are already filled. So if you choose not to do anything tonight, we would be less 4 at the February meeting because their terms expire at the end of the month.
Right. I just wanted to.
But yeah, we have a full commission and 2 youth commission liaisons.
Okay.
I would move. First off, well, I'll just go. I move that we accept the staff recommendation to reappoint Kristen Davis, Aaron Fosdick through May of 2024, and Alan Gill and Sue Pylon through May of 2025.
Second.
All right.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont,
Yes.
Trustee Mahan,
Yes.
Trustee Trevally,
Yes.
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
I assume they want to do it.
Yes.
I did.
You guys now.
Too late, period.
They're locked in.
We didn't give them a choice. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Kobe.
I say, when Colby and I talked about this previously, kind of it was done by drawing lots or straws as to who got which term. It wasn't playing favoritism, it was randomized.
All right, it's great. I happen to know one of the commissioners pretty good, so she's very valuable for this community, and this will give us a chance to have her input on that, so that'll work great. All right, moving right along, we're going to move into Resolution 24R6. And Sarah, go.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and trustees. Tonight before you is consideration of award for the pump contract for installation of 2 additional pumps to the West Pump Station. This is in line with our strategic, reliable, and sustainable infrastructure goal by improving our raw water infrastructure and improving our service to our customers that are on the line served by the West Pump Station. So this is a diagram of the West Pump Station. As you can see, there's one big thing in the middle. That's the pump that we have currently. And then there's 2 spots for 2 additional pumps. When the pump station was originally constructed, there wasn't enough budget for the 2 pumps, and the demand wasn't there to really justify the 2 pumps at the time. So the additional pumps were slated for a future date when the demands have increased to the point that we do need them, and we're at that point now. So we went to bid out this project after the consultants working on the raw water master plan verified that those pumps were still adequately sized to meet the demands of that area served by those 2 pumps. The 2 pump stations, the West Pump Station and the older East Pump Station, are connected through an interconnect, so adding the 2 pumps here will add some redundancy for the East Pump Station if we ever do have those pumps go down. So this is a map of the pump station. The area is highlighted in the purple with the darker outlines. Those are the areas currently being served by the West Pump Station. Like I said, the 2 zones, the West Zone and the East Zone, are connected. They connect at Colorado Boulevard and Temple Parkway. So as you can tell, there's a lot of new developments being served by that West Pump Station, hence why we need to add those 2 additional pumps now. We put the project out to bid. We received 3 bids. Barnard Structures was the lowest responsible bidder, at $650. We did fund for the 2 pumps with the capital improvement budget, and we'll be using additional funds from the 2024 budget for professional services to cover the cost of the project. Staff recommends approval of resolution 24R06 awarding the contract to Barnard Structures.
Anybody have any questions or concerns or anything for Sarah?
Is it gonna be just the pumps that are placed, or are they gonna close in the pump buildings? If you go back to the picture, I saw that was kind of a
There it is.
open space back there. They're gonna replace the doors, or are they gonna do anything or complete the shelter?
Trustee Lamont, so there is, it's basically a tough shed building that's put over foundation. So it has a door that rolls up, just a garage door. So it is enclosed. It's just open right now, and Colby's actually working on a project that would further improve that structure, winterize it better. So there are some improvements for the structure being proposed, but not under this contract.
Thank you.
Sarah, didn't we have some issues with the pressure? Was it carriage hills?
Yes.
You think this is going to help to alleviate some of those issues?
Mayor Pro Tem March, this will help with some of those pressure issues. The people who have direct connects to the system are still going to experience some issues if they're not staggering when they're irrigating, because the system's designed for average day flows, not for peak flows. So it's still on the lower side of pressures and flows compared to like our potable water system,
Right.
where people you can tie into any time of day and use however much you want to use.
Sure.
The raw water system's different.
Okay, are now there's 2 entities that are having the issues with that, you said? 2 separate entities?
Mayor Pro Tem March, the Carriage Hills, they're at the end of the system, and Hidden Creek is another subdivision at the end of the system. They have had pressure issues. Some of those are system related, some of those are on our side.
Yeah.
But the addition of the 2 pumps will help alleviate some of those issues.
Okay. Do they work together to try to come up with an alternate way of using the water?
We've worked with them. I've worked to identify a staggered irrigation schedule. Enforcement of that is difficult to do, but hopefully we'll see if this solves most of those problems. But we will be talking about a staggered irrigation schedule, primarily focused on the residential side, not so much on the non-residential side, coming up with some of those municipal code updates that we'll be talking to you guys in a few weeks.
Okay. Well, you can lead a horse to water, so to speak. You can't.
Can't drink if there is no water pressure.
There you go. All right.
I had
Okay.
a question. Will this be done before spring for irrigation season?
That is a very good question, Trustee. We're talking with the person that Barnard Structures to do the work. So they're aware that we do have a pretty tight time frame. The lead time on these pumps is quite long. So I've communicated with them that once we get the contract signed, that we want to order it as soon as we can. Talking through that with them, if we do have to take the pump station out of service, it could be taken out for an hour or 2 while they do some work and then brought back on. So if we do have to do work during the irrigation season, the outages would be minimal, but we're hoping to get it done before the irrigation season really gets going.
Anybody else have any other questions? Any comments, concerns for Sarah? No? All right. Thank you, Sarah. We need some direction then.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 24R06, a resolution of the town of Frederick, Colorado, to award a contract for addition of 2 pumps to the West Pump Station and authorizing the town manager to execute the contract.
Second.
Trustee Tavali,
Yes.
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Mahan,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right. Moving on to resolution 24R07. You're up again.
Yes, I'm still here. So the next item for consideration is the 20th interim agreement for the Northern Integrated Supply Project. So we're getting hopefully to the end of these interim agreements. We've been talking about that at the participant group that I go to the monthly meetings. So later on this year, we'll be bringing forth the more firm contract, the allotment contract for this water. So more information will be forthcoming once we have drafts of that for you guys to start reviewing. So this aligns with our strategic, reliable, and sustainable infrastructure goal while making sure that we do have water resources into our future. This accounts for a large portion of our future water portfolio. Just some general information about the NISP project. 40,000 acre-feet of yield. There's 15 participants in the northern Colorado area. That portion of yield that the town has been under participation for is 2,600 acre-feet of yield. This is identified in our short-term and long-term water supply plans as really important pieces of our water portfolio. We are also working on a water rate study, which incorporates the cost of this project to make sure that we are setting our rates appropriately, using our funds in that water fund appropriately for all of our water needs, including paying for NISP. So project status update, there hasn't been a lot of status changes within the last few years, but we did hit some very important milestones within the last few years of that 401 water quality certification, the 1041 permit, and the 404 record of decision that we got a little over a year ago. That was the big one. As we're working through the project schedule, you can see it's still planned to have wet water out of the project in 2032. So there's a lot of work that we're still getting to leading up to that project. But we're getting really close to starting a lot of that major construction within the next year. And we've already started doing some of the mitigation projects, including some projects in Eastman Park that started last year with some of the mitigation, and we're proposing to begin some preliminary pipeline work near the Glade Reservoir site and in other areas that could be impacted by future development to get the pipes in the ground before development starts and we can't access that area, or it makes access much harder to get to. So additional work planned in 2024, continuing support of that very important 404 permit, as well as working with Larimer County and spreading information about the project, making sure people have accurate information about the project. Phase 5, a lot of that is centered along the Highway 287 relocation impacted by the reservoir site. Phase 6, an important part of that is potential exchange of CBT water within the NISP project. So having more flexibility with our water rights portfolio is important for the town. So we want to have a good understanding of how we can swap water between those two projects to meet our needs. And phase 7, a big portion of that is that financial planning, getting that into our water rate study, as well as that allotment contract. So that way we have a firm contract for that water that we've committed to moving forward. The funds for this were included in the 2024 budget for about a little under $2 million since then, with rollover from 2023 to 2024 budget. Within the project, that interim agreement payment amount has gone down to about $1.8 million. Staff recommends approval of resolution 24R07 tonight for approval of that agreement.
Questions, concerns, comments? Chad, I know you know about this stuff.
Well, I know there's supposed to be litigation. Have they been talking about that at all?
So the 1041 permit, there was an appeal filed by the opponents to NISP. We received, I say we, Northern received that draft, I believe, on Christmas Eve. And so the return response date is actually in about 2 days from now. And so that is ongoing in terms of supporting the Larimer County decision to allow the granting of the 1041 permit. I've been, along with our water council, involved in those discussions from the legal side of things with the other attorneys in the participant group. We have yet to see, but we anticipate it'll happen at some point, the appeal to the Army Corps of Engineer decision, and that'll be the bigger piece. But we're waiting for that shoe to drop at some point. But we are trying to be proactive. I don't want to go into detail in a public setting as to what proactive looks like behind the scenes, but we're trying to be proactive in mitigating those issues as best as we can.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions? How many years have we been in it on this? Is this like 20 years we've been in NISP?
Mayor Pro Tem March, yeah, I don't have my copy of my AM in front of me, but I think we did purchase our first block of participation around that time, about 20 years ago.
So it went from 1.95 mil down to 1.8. Is that right? The cost this time around for this year?
Right. The budget this year went from 1.95 to 1.75.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem March. When they gave us the budget figures, it's usually like halfway through the year to meet our budget cycle. So they don't know how much they're going to be able to roll over from 2023 to 2024 or those firm costs until later in the year.
Yeah.
They've talked with the participants of trying to get more in line with our kind of mid-year needs. So they got much closer to that number this year than they have in previous years. But yeah, they still need to work on getting some of those numbers finalized so we can have a more accurate number in our budgets.
All right. Well done, Sarah. I know this thing has gone on forever, so maybe we'll get something finished on this in a while. You were involved with it in Fort Morgan, weren't you?
I've been on the periphery of NISP for at least 10, 12 years now. I mean, putting it in context, the CBT project, which is already in place that we all benefit from, I think that project lifespan was 25 to 30 years as well. So it just takes time for these gigantic projects to get through their works.
Yeah, and these court cases, you've got someone comes up with something to try to stop the building of these things, and you've got to go through them. It's their right to do that, so that always lengthens things out. So, okay, all right. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments for Sarah? If not, then we need some direction, please.
Mayor Pro Tem March, I move to approve Resolution 24R07, authorizing the mayor to execute the 20th interim agreement with the Northern Integrated Supply Project Water Activities Enterprise.
Second.
Trustee Mahan?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Tavelli?
Yes.
Trustee Lamont?
Yes.
Trustee Padilla?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. All right. Getting through all the action items here. That's great. We're going to move into our mayor and trustee reports. We got anything? I don't have anything other than the fact that please send your best wishes to our mayor. Mayor Kreitz is under the weather pretty badly right now, and she'll be back here soon. But for right now, she's feeling pretty rocky. So please keep her in your thoughts. Anybody have anything?
Mayor Pro Tem, I just wanted to let everybody know I attended the ribbon cutting ceremony over at the Toro Robotics this past week with the mayor. She was there, several staff, and it was quite impressive. We got a demonstration on what they're doing with the equipment. We got a sneak preview of some of the lawn and grass cutting equipment that hadn't been released yet. I guess they told us it just came in from Nebraska, I think it was, Colby. Nebraska the day before. But I think it's going to be a good, I know it's going to be a good relationship between the community, the town, and Toro Robotics. I'm looking forward to being able to drop in and see where they're at with the equipment that they're developing, and it's going to be impressive. I think that the town will benefit from the relationship.
That's outstanding. I can't remember who was told me that it seems like there's going to be a few jobs that will open up that they're going to have open up locally. Is that true? I wasn't there. I didn't get a chance to go, so I didn't know.
I think they said they had increased it. I think they're up around 30 or 35 or 40 positions.
I think that I know that they're also working with the school. They've got a program that in the summer they're planning on doing. I know it's over 10 to 15 interns specifically interested in robotics. So they're working in collaboration. The school's already participated in funds to support a program that's over there. So yeah, absolutely. Great opportunity. And it will only continue to grow.
Great. Well, it's I wanted to get there and I couldn't get there. It's come up, so it's exciting to see this happen. Another business come in to Frederick that will, only make us bigger and stronger. It's fantastic. So
They demonstrated the commercial lawnmowers, and they demonstrated a residential lawnmower.
Yeah,
that was pretty impressive. And here's a young lady driving out in the open space to the east of their building, and she drives the perimeter of the area that she once mowed, and stops the machine, sets it to do the space, and off it went.
Oh wow,
it was impressive.
That's awesome. Well, that's another one. That's good. Anybody else have anything? Go ahead.
I don't want to take away jobs from Toro, but speaking of lawns and water efficiency, just wanted to remind everybody that I think our town turf replacement program application is ongoing, and maybe just to put you on the spot, Sarah, would you mind coming up and talking about that a little bit? Not that we're trying to reduce the amount of lawns we need to mow in Frederick, but maybe a little bit if we're overwatering in places.
Yes.
Yeah, so this will be the second year of our turf removal program, and we have increased the amount of the rebate to participate in that program. So we're hoping to drive a little more participation. So you guys should see a bill insert coming out in this next month's billing. And it'll have a lot of information about the project, certain size requirements, and all that kind of stuff. So we definitely want people to be water wise and removing some of that non-functional turf. Obviously, functional turf is still important for everyone's lives, but if you have areas in your neighborhood that people are complaining about maintaining lawns when they don't really use them, it's a great opportunity to replace that with some more water-wise plants.
Cool. But this is a real deal here. I mean, we talked about it a little bit last year, but we as a town, we definitely have to take a look at changing what we're doing. And I know we're doing that in our codes and so forth for landscaping, xeriscaping, the different types of artificial turf that may be used and so forth. And we've got to do that. I mean, the drought report doesn't look very good. I saw it again Saturday, and it's pretty scary. So, it's going to happen. We've got to do it. As long as we do it the right way, we'll be okay. So,
And one other item is I was able to attend the Denver Regional Council of Governments meeting, and they have a lobbyist that along the same lines of CCI and CML, and they did share draft legislation around housing and land use and transit oriented communities. And so I sent that to the board and to Brian and Jason just so that you all have it. And they're proposing to use HUTF funds for some of this, which I think has some local governments a bit concerned. So I don't know to the degree that we plug into those conversations and maybe just plan on if anything passes, what that might, if anything um, might do to any of our comprehensive planning. I think this is more of an incentive based approach this time around rather than last legislative session, and may not really impact us, but just kind of some things to keep our eyes on. So that's all I had. Thanks.
Brian, do you know if we've gotten very many calls about the homeless situation that's seems to be so prevalent in the Front Range?
Mayor Pro Tem, not specifically within Frederick, but I do know that there's some concerns with it growing along Highway 119 in small, very small pockets right now, but not in to that extent. I think one of the concerns is within the area, the services that are available to them are a little bit different here than they are in, say, Longmont or in the metro area specifically, but certainly something that we do need to talk about and continually talk about. How do we plan in regards to that into the future? So,
Okay. All right.
I got something.
Go.
So, coming up next month, I have the first Miners Day Committee meeting, getting ready to start planning for 2024. So if anyone has any comments from last year or any suggestions or thoughts on this coming year, it's never too early to start planning for Miners Day. So shoot me a note, let me know so that I can make sure it gets passed along to the committee. That's all I have.
The election, of course, is coming up here, and from what I understand, there's 2 weeks still for write-in votes before it's closed off.
So the opportunity to pull a packet and petition closed Monday. So that was yesterday. Next Monday would be the end of the time frame for curing any of those that were polled and already submitted. And also that coincides with the last opportunity for anybody to withdraw from the election. And to your point, if there's any interest in being a write-in candidate, there's an affidavit that needs to be filed by that deadline as well to be considered eligible as a write-in candidate.
As it stands right now, there will be an election. There are 4 candidates for trustee.
Still to be
Potentially,
determined.
there's one petition that needs to be cured still at this point.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, for those of you incumbents that are running, we'll get them. We need you. Please. Okay, we need to go into an executive session next. Do you want to take a 5-minute break? Do I read us in first before we take a little break, or wait?
Yeah, so if we could do the motion and a vote for the executive session, which is stated on the agenda there for your convenience, and then you can have a 5-minute break afterwards before 5 or 10 minutes. It's up to you all.
Okay. And I move to go into executive session for a conference with the town attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS section 24-6-402, subparagraph 4, subparagraph B, regarding oil and gas. Need a second?
Second.
Trustee Mahan?
Yes.
Trustee Padilla?
Yes.
Trustee Lamont?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee DeFeli?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute break before we go into executive session. So about 5 minutes to 8, we'll have everybody back.